What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and there's been an explosion of information circulating all over Twitter and other places when it comes to the sweet, stinky, putrid baby and their stain upon the masses of video games.
See, even that is better than what a lot of journalists do. Like, that's fucking funny because, like, you'll remember that.
Figured for now we'd be good. There couldn't possibly be more.
I turned
but
it
like
up.
Goku achieving new levels of Super Saiyan, this story keeps getting
it's
more
editorial, but it's memorable.
Yes, as time
you have
goes
to do
on.
that.
Now it turns out we may have found a connection to Sweet Baby's inception, and it connects in a really bizarre way that you need to see in order to believe. Beyond this, the founder of the baby has been found to call white male players as picky babies. What? And Suicide Squad, which has obviously failed and imploded in front of Warner Bros. Discovery's eyes, has decided that not only are players wrong, but Suicide Squad is Warner's future. It's a lot, so let's keep this simple to begin with, those weird connections and how this may have all started. So far, what we know for sure is that Sweet Baby Inc. was founded in 2018 by Kim Belair, and it's a consulting company that was created to boost marginalized voices within video games through narrative, script dialogue, quest design, and much more. Sometimes it's more of a subtle endeavor, and sometimes it sticks out like a sore thumb. Like having a black girl in God of War Ragnarok who's apparently from a race of giants. That originates from Norse mythology within a very white part of the world. As in every single Norse villain within Ragnarok is white.
Which is too bad because, like, in my opinion, like, if you look at the original Norse lore, what does Thor look like? This guy. Basically this guy. I would say Thor, not really. You don't think so? Or at least he had red beard. I think he'd be kind of a fat, big dude.
Within Ragnarok is white, every citizen is white, and even Atreus, whose mother is a giant, is also white. But randomly, for no reason at all, there just happens to be a black girl in this same giant race. Of course it was done for representational purposes and likely was pushed by Sweet Baby from the get-go in order to ensure there was some diversity in the game. But we all know that if God of War was, for example, in the future having a game based on African mythology, that they would absolutely not make any of that mythology or its characters randomly into a white person, because that would be culturally tone-deaf and racist to do so. But it's totally fine if it's done within a Norse mythological setting. Just ignore the fact that Norse mythology is intrinsically connected to Norwegian people, who are predominantly blue-eyed and blonde hair. Don't use logic or reasoning to understand this, just shut your mouth and consume product like a good consumer instead.
Well, to be fair, like, I don't think anybody really gave a shit about that a whole lot, but I do think that having obvious representation in stories does take away from the escapism that people have for it. Whenever you know that a certain character only looks a certain way or only is in the story for a certain reason, it does, like, whenever you see that character, it does take you out of the narrative that, like, you're in a fantasy world, because it makes you think and be like, oh, this character is here because there's, like, a specific reason and purpose for that. Give me 1 second. My dad just called to inform me that, in fact, in some of the Viking ships and some of their voyages, they did in fact go to places like Morocco. So it could be possible and plausible that there actually would be potentially a black person in the story. Yeah, he's probably right.
That's what these consulting groups want us all to do anyway. Sweet Baby has obviously left their stink all over the gaming industry already, but now it gets way weirder than before. Ever wonder how a company like Sweet Baby even comes to exist in the first place? And who else is a part of this company? How do these things...
because they create a problem and then sell a solution for it. It's actually really simple.
...even come to be? Well, let's take a journey together, friends, and let's go learn how the sausage gets made, shall we? So since this huge story has been blowing up, people have been digging all over, and one of the discoveries is another company with an equally weird name in the form of Baby Ghosts. According
What's this focus on babies?
Website, Baby Ghosts is a grant and peer accelerator company that helps marginalized individuals create their studios into a reality. They further explain what they do in their own words here, which says, Baby Ghosts and Gamma Space Collaborative Studio have teamed up to offer a grant of $25,000 in a two-part 6-month program of tailored mentorship with a community of game-making peers. We offer the space and the tools to develop a studio that doesn't need to adhere to inequitable systematic norms. Sounds
Okay.
nice and simple enough so far, right? What
This
other
sounds like somebody with a chip on their shoulder is trying to, make things go in a certain way.
services do they give, you may be asking? Well, according to them, they offer things
Also,
like
by the way, these games take millions of dollars to make. I think a $25,000 grant is like nothing.
helping you with team development, project management, publicity, and professional connections. That last one, by the way, is very, very important. And as they say, the more they engage with you, the more they can support you. But what this really means is the more they get to know you as a game developer, and if you have the right credentials, as in you're a person of color, you identify yourself using other buzz terms like maybe disabled or they them pronouns and so on. Then this Baby Ghost consulting team will then learn, oh, you're one of the good ones, a sweet baby, if you will. And then they'll use their connections to get other like-minded individuals to help and maybe even work with you on your game who also identify with similar buzz term words as well. And
I think that's a pretty big stretch. Obviously, I think I'm sure that happens sometimes. I don't know if that's necessarily something that you could rely on or you could really prove, but it would logically make sense that people that have like an ideological overlap will probably give preference to each other. Of course. Yeah.
if you want that $25,000 grant to help you achieve your dreams, you kind of have to also be able to identify within these other labels as well. Firstly, you have to be Canadian, so sorry Americans, but it's that second point which says, you are a member of an unrepresented group in the video game industry. So
I wonder why, like, I've always found this to be very weird that people are completely okay with actual structural racism. It's just like, I guess in their mind, because it's the opposite and it's like the inverse, it's not bad. Because like to me, like I see this and I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is like segregation, right? This isn't good at all. But for some reason, these people have convinced themselves that they're actually doing the right thing. Give an example. Well, this. Here, let me give you an example. Anytime that a person is given a preference on something based off of something that is not their own inherent proficiency at doing something, that is not meritocratic, that's bad. So like, for example, if you're being given preference because you're a male or because you're a female, that's bad. If you're given preference because you are white or black or Hispanic or Asian, that's bad. Anything that happens in that reason is bad. All of that's bad. Bad completely. Is politically correct? Well, yeah, politically correct is different than actually correct.
if you're a white hetero male,
That's not what's going on. Well, I'm curious, like, so what is going on then? So can you explain this? I think it's to expand the opportunity to, of people who haven't had the resources. Well, then why isn't based on access to resources? Because of systematic racism? Isn't this systematic racism? Because, like, this is a system, and it's giving preference to people that are of a race. If you put those two words together, I don't know. I mean, like, like, to me, like, if I look at this, I would say, you know, not really. People that previously didn't have those opportunities, like how black people didn't have access to the same jobs. People previously didn't have access to those opportunities. So is it systematic racism or not? It's very simple. Is it or not? I understand your point, but it's not really systematic since it's not a law. Is there a law that says that black people or any other group of people like Hispanic people, Latino people can't be game developers? Is there a law that says that? I will repeat my position. Any time that you give preference for somebody based off of something that is not in their control, like for example, you know, if their gender, their race, their religion, their political views, anything like that. Even political views is kind of not really part of the same category. Any of that, if you're giving preference to people based off of that, it's bad. And it's literally racism or sexism. Just because you're doing it for a good reason doesn't make it not the thing that you're doing.
Sorry, you are not
simple.
eligible for this grant. What's that? You were born a white male against your own will? Have you ever considered that maybe your parents are racist for simply existing? Well, too bad, white hetero male game developer. Be gone with you. Your kind isn't allowed here in these parts, but if you're a person of color or pander in any way, shape, or form, well, congratulations, you just got accepted into the Baby Ghost program. But then it gets weirder because it turns out that Baby Ghost is actually funded by another company which is called Weird Ghosts. A lot of bizarre names for these companies, I know. So, what's Weird Ghosts, you may be asking? Well, according to their website, Weird Ghosts is an impact fund for studios led by underrepresented founders across Canada. We support video game studios with studio development training, catalytic investments, and community in order to build strong, impactful teams of underrepresented makers who are shaping the future of video games.
Okay.
So Weird Ghost is a bigger company that through other shell companies like Baby Ghosts use their influence to help what they call underrepresented groups begin working in video games. The site even says in their own words that Weird Ghosts invests in founders who want to build profitable, impact-oriented studios with a long-term vision and commitment to equitable, worker-centric structures. There's that keyword there, by the way, impact. They want whatever it is you're making to change how things are done.
Yeah, they want to have an agenda in that type of content, sure. I think also, like, to expand on what I was saying earlier, like, I don't think that these people shouldn't be allowed to do this, but I just think that it should be acknowledged as it being racist. Like, people should be allowed to give their money to whoever they want to give it to. And if they want to do it in a racist way, that should be their reasoning. That's their prerogative. The only problem is whenever the government does it. I don't think the government should in any way, shape, or form be condoning or facilitating this. But if it's a private citizen doing it, well, people do have freedom of assembly, at least here in the U.S., and if they want to do that, that's up to them, even though I disagree with it.
The key initiative here and what I want you to zero in as we go along. So it's not enough that you're from an underrepresented group or that you go by whatever pronouns that you do, but you also need to be politically and socially aligned with these ghost companies in order to receive your grant.
Well, yeah, they're trying to give people money who are going to empower them and push their agenda. Like, I mean, really, what are we talking about here? It's obvious, right? We want to give people money that are going to push our agenda. That's clearly what they're trying to do.
You are overseen by these groups to ensure that what you're making is pushing what they want to see. Okay, very cool. So then you're probably asking, who the hell is controlling these companies then? Who are the people behind this? Well, one of them is this person named Jenny Robinson Faber, who according to their bio on the Weird Ghost website says, Jenny, she is a queer white settler community arts advocate and organizer, software developer, and leader in the IDM industry for over 15 years. She co-founded the video games arts nonprofits DMG Toronto with Cecily Carvey and Alex Litch, and Gamma Space Collaborative Studio with Henry Faber and Dan Toliver.
A white what is this settler thing? Settlers of Catan? Is this the Oregon Trail? What? It means that she wasn't from Canada? Was she born in Canada? Because if she was born in Canada, then she's from Canada. Oh my God. Bro, the brain rot with this is just incredible.
In 2015, she joined the board of the Toronto Media Arts Centre and became its operations director in 2017.
That's amazing.
You read that right, fellas. They unironically refer to
yeah.
themselves as white settlers in their public professional biography.
Fuck?
You can smell the white liberal woman guilt from here, but surely that is a one-and-done expression, right? Well, who's the other founder?
Weird.
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Their name is Eileen Mary Holoka, who, according to their bio, Eileen, she is a queer and disabled white settler living on Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg. They are a writer, game dev, and community organizer advocate with a background in theater, games, poetry, and health communications. They have a PhD in communication.
If you think that you're a settler, then fucking leave. Then go back to Europe. I hate this so much. Because, like, if these people think that, like, oh, I shouldn't be here, it's bad that I'm here, then get the fuck out. Like, what are you doing living your entire life with this dissonance, thinking that your entire existence is actually some... And this is how you know that it's fake, right? Is because these people are not going to leave where they live, but they're going to take accountability for something that they didn't even do. No, don't come to Europe. Don't come back. Yeah, sure. Well, I know you guys probably don't want to deal with them either. Yeah, it's like basically these people have enough virtue to say that they're bad, but not enough virtue to act on it. I respect anybody who wants to live a life that is congruent with their values, but these people don't want to live a life that's congruent with their values. And in fact, they want to be idolized and, revered for the fact that they are living a life that is actively against their own values. These people own a company. You can move over to Europe. You can immigrate back over to wherever the fuck you came from over in Europe. Because she's right. You know where a lot of white people in like North America come from? Come from Europe. Because we came over here. That's what happened. It was like 300-400 years ago. That's how it happened. Absolutely. So if you feel like being here is bad, then leave. But these people never stand on business. They never actually have any, and this is what I was saying before about how a person's morals and values, you can judge whether how strong somebody's morals or values are based off of if they live up to them or not. And people like this lady here do not live up to their own morals and values. Well, I think that goes and shows you a whole lot about what they really think. They're only doing this for like social points. There's zero principles. Yes, there's no principle for this at all. This is simply a value that this person has because it gives them some sort of social credit. That's all. It's not real. It's not reflected in their behavior. It's not reflected in anything that is not beneficial towards them.
Studies from Concordia University and have published extensively within and outside of academia.
Yeah, if you don't like this, if you think you're a white settler, get the fuck back to Europe.
They are a co-founder.
See, that's what the government needs to do. Take all of these fucking people. You don't like it here? Great, you're gone. Get the fuck out.
Both Weird Ghosts and Baby Ghosts with Jenny Robinson.
I would gladly
Faber,
pay more taxes for that.
As well as a member of Gamma Space Collaborative Studio. They have also worked as the general manager of Infinite Ammo. Oh, so the white settler bio description isn't just a one and done sort of thing. You could almost say that it's a mandatory identification term that's designed to easily triangulate and point out who the white people are amidst the crowd here, which is just wow, dude, wow. The inner hatred of white liberal women is truly one of the greatest jokes of the modern era. These are the sort of people who likely think it's great that people burn down cities in protest.
Oh,
They're
God.
likely also the same kinds of people.
And I think he's right about that. Yeah, these are the same people that are probably celebrating burning down places, and it's like, oh, protests need to happen. Guaranteed. The moment that anything goes, and there's anything scary, anybody breaks into this girl's house, all of the ACAB shit that she was saying would immediately disappear, and she'd be calling the police. These values can only exist in an environment where they're not tested.
People who would get mugged in broad daylight and refuse to give a description of the person in fear of being racist.
They exist in a bubble.
Also,
Yep, that's
find
right.
it very interesting that weird and
basically they're so protected they don't even realize how protected they are.
Ghosts both work to prop up marginalized voices within the gaming industry and refuse to work with white people in general. Yet, unironically, these companies are controlled and created by two white people themselves.
That's right.
It's like the ultimate white savior complex of a company come to life. It's truly incredible how much these people hate something that they can't change about themselves. Imagine
do you remember like back in the day with like video games where you would play games? I don't know if this is the case with you guys, but like whenever I was in like my old WoW guilds and in like even Halo days, Like, we never had these problems at all. Like, yeah, people would make like racial jokes and stuff like that. Sure, like people still do that. But, like, everybody just got along, and it was never a problem. It's even, yeah, it's still not even a problem for normal people. It's crazy how much these, because like I wonder, like, this is one thing for me that I always am curious about, is I wish that I had a window into these people's lives. Because a lot of the people that I know that are like this, and I've known them for like a long period of their life, they're weird fucking losers. And of course, yeah, you never had any friends or anything like that, because guess what? You never have. It didn't happen then either.
It's really no shit that Asmon here was, he always was colorblind. And I was over there sitting there watching back in his Halo days, and he was working with, I don't know, two, three other, four, five other guys, and I don't know what they do.
It's a four-man team.
But, what? How many?
Four.
Four, okay. And I hear this one guy keep saying, "White boy, move up here. White boy, move up." And I'm listening to these guys interact on, their end, the other guys, not him, not Zach. And I figure out, okay, I hear the different voices, and I say, "You're a white boy, right?" And he says, "Oh yeah." And another one. This is harmless, Zach.
Okay.
When he was like in second grade. I mean, fucking first or second grade. All right. He talks. He was in the class first, week of class or whatever. Second week, he says, "Oh, I saw this one guy. He was so funny. He was so cool." And I said, "Oh yeah, what was he doing?" His mom said, we were all sitting around the central table, and he said, "Well, he jumped up on his desk, and he was saying, 'Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna kick your ass.'" And he's saying exactly like what the guy said. And I said, "That was this dude black?" And he says, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, when you look at him, what color was his skin?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, was it, dark as mine, or was it darker than mine?" Because I always had a really good tan, and a Mexican tan. And so he says, "I don't know." I said, "Well, tomorrow could take a look and look around and see if you don't notice that there's a difference." And he came, and the next night when we were having supper, he said, "Well, yeah, I guess he is darker than we." I said, "Well, there are people who are black and there are people who are white." And this is like, "Oh, okay, good to know." And he's always shrugged it off.
Yeah.
My brother was a guy about half his height and about his same weight. I mean, I think he was stocky as hell. And he was darker than Zach's beard. And they'd go into a place together, and Zach would get something where he'd say, and hey, wait a minute, my little brother wants to get something.
Oh, jeez.
And these guys at the store would stand there and look at them and look down at the Cameron, look up at him, because Cameron was like several years younger.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, nobody ever said a fucking thing in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Zach really is colorblind. I'm not shitting you.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. All right. Yo. Bye.
Oh, bye-bye.
That's the life, like, as I said, I told you guys I went to a high school that was 70%, like Hispanic. And so, yeah.
Referring to yourself as a white settler, dude. Holy crap.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up. It's because of people like this that we're in this mess to begin with, but I don't know if you caught what was said there, so let's circle back for a second. What was the name of that second founder? Eileen Holoka. Huh, Holoka. Where have we heard that name before? Also, Eileen is in control of another company called Infinite Ammo. What the hell is that? Well, if you go look that up, it turns out Infinite Ammo was started by a man named Alec Holoka. And if you look deeper, you then realize that the man who started Infinite Ammo is actually the same Alicoloca who ended their life after Zoe Quinn accused them of abuse without any proof.
What the
same
fuck?
Alicoloca who ended himself after websites like Polygon and others blasted and ruined his reputation and name because of the whole believe all women narrative. And then, once he died, his company, Infinite Ammo, was absorbed by his sister Eileen, and using all these connections was able to create weird and baby ghosts. So the man who died because of the baseless accusations of Zoe Quinn, who is pretty much the progenitor of Gamergate, is having his legacy used to fund and create startup companies that politically and commercially erase people like him from the industry, all in the name of virtue signaling.
Wow, good for him.
Some
that
Jack
sucks.
Reacher level connections we're talking
about.
I
That
feel
sucks.
like I'm going to be
Jesus.
sniped in my window by a they-them assassin just for talking about this stuff. But there it is, fellas, right in front of you. The progenitors of Sweet Baby and the transformation of the video games industry is intrinsically tied directly to the very same man whose death was caused by Gamergate itself. Then Sile, who also does YouTube, ended up posting some screenshots on Twitter, so let's go look at those now. And if you look here, well, look who it is. It's Chris Kendrick who said, "So glad to be a part of this cohort. That's right, the narrative designer at Sweet Baby is tied to Weird Ghosts as well. And oh look, it's even the same baby ghost icon there in the same infographic where Weird Ghost celebrates the 7 studios they helped launch."
Why do they come up with these weird-ass fucking names, man?
And one of them is there as plain as day, Sweet Baby Inc. Then Weird Ghost was found as saying in public that their mission is to remake the industry.
What the fuck?
And there's another image where Infinite Ammo, which is again created by the now deceased Alicoloca, is the minority investor in startups like Weird and Baby Ghost, which is now, as you know, the reason why Sweet Baby Inc. exists to begin with. So they're not only politically aligned, they are quite literally, down to their DNA, the same thing.
Oh my God.
Sweet Baby Inc., Weird Ghost, Baby Ghost, Infinite Ammo, Gamergate, Alicoloca, Eileen Holoca, Zoe Quinn, all of it. It's all done and made by the same
It's
group
all
of people.
connected?
Are you convinced yet that video games as a medium have been infiltrated by activists? Or
well, I mean, fuck, I thought that before I watched the video. I think this is the case with almost all media, as people try to infiltrate media and use media to tell their story. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
You need more proof. Well,
yeah, this really is weird.
Game Developers Conference, where Kim Belair, the founder of Sweet Baby, who might I add, fits the bill to a T in terms of what Weird Ghost looks for in someone they invest in, was talking on stage about how her vision for her company works to change the game industry, as Weird Ghost puts it. So, this clip is from her GDC talk a few years ago, around the time when Sweet Baby was first founded. It's a little bit of a longer clip, however, it's worth watching for context, so let's sit down, get comfortable, and peer into what Sweet Baby aims to do, shall we?
Oh my God.
And so I want to put on that, very mercenary hat for a second and talk about the way that we decide how we're going to sell the art that we make and how we're going to approach the audiences that we make it for. Because I think so often when people like us get told, from higher ups or from society at large, this isn't what players want, it's not a conversation about content, it's a conversation about demographics.
No, it's about the content. Yes, no, that's a mistake. That it is about the content, and it is not just from the higher ups. It's because the higher ups understand the market, and they understand what people want. That's why they're one of the higher ups. And no, they in fact are, in this case, I can't believe it, actually speaking for the players. People don't want that. You're right.
And I think that in our industry and in so many creative industries, if you want to look at film and television and any art form, we start treating our core demographics as a fixed and static value, something that does not want to change and something that is locked in place. So despite the changing face of audiences, despite the changing face of conferences like this one, we still look at our core demographics and say, okay, they're white, cis, hetero males. And we cater almost exclusively to them. And the problem is that we don't just cater to them here's something that we think you'll enjoy. We cater to them the way that we cater to a picky baby. We feed them the same thing that we know that they love, and we keep on feeding it. We're like, here you go. You love it. Eat this. Eat.
Well, that's your favorite food. Why wouldn't you want to give people their favorite food? How's this bad? And also, like, listen, these people can make a game however they want to make a game. If they don't want to make a game for white people, I don't know, how do you make a game that's not for white people? Like, what the fuck? What is the... Like, I wonder, like, you know, could they explain to me what they mean by we're going to make a game that's not for white people? What is this? And I'm sure that if you asked them to explain it, they wouldn't really be able to do it. Unless it was private, which of course they would say. But they know, and the reason why, of course, is because these people know that the values and the things that they think don't actually exist, and they only exist inside of a safe space or an echo chamber that they are allowed to exist in. Because if you bring these ideas out into the public, into the the public knowledge, immediately people will just be like, this is fucking ridiculous. This is not even a question. Like, of course we're not going to consider this. This is awful. So they have to hide their intentions. And I think that it's very important. If somebody is trying to hide their intentions, there's a reason for it.
This, eat this, so that then when they get anything else, they react as a picky baby would, which is be like, oh, no, thank you. I do not want this. Mm-hmm. And we've actually done this so long that what we're doing is creating an entire nation of picky babies, and they make us scared to do.
I think that this is actually very indicative of the way that these people see themselves, because they see themselves as people who are trying to change a nation. They're trying to change a large group and a demographic. They're not looking at trying to actually make a good product. They're not trying to tell a good story. They are trying to, and they have self-aggrandized themselves to the extent that they think that they are now accountable for changing these demographics. They're activists, right? And I think that's basically what I was going back around to, is that these people are fundamentally not game developers. They're not game designers. They don't want to make video games. They want to use video games to push activism. That is their real goal.
Deviate from what we actually want to do, just in case these picky babies don't want to play our games. And we've made a lot of progress. Obviously, like, I don't say this to completely go like, just give up. We've screwed it. So I want to do better than this. Because, and I don't...
My opinion about this is that if they feel like they don't want to make a game for white people, then don't do it. Like, who gives a fuck? That's fine. Go for it. If you want to make your game however you want to make it, that's totally fine. I think the only thing that people have an issue with is whenever you take existing stories and you change them, like, in order to, like, fit some sort of narrative. That's really what the problem is here. There's never been an issue with making a product for other groups of people. That's totally fine. But the issue is whenever you're taking a product that exists and then changing it and co-opting it. And I think the reason why these people want to change and co-opt the products rather than actually make their own products is because they know that their own products don't stand on their own and that their own products are garbage. So the only way that they can exist is as a parasite exists, where it exists at the expense of something that is more successful and then slowly squeezes the life out of it, and then it moves on to the next victim. And that's what they're doing.
Say that to be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to dismiss all the hate and the abuse in our communities. But I do like to imagine that when we look at white guys, and there's several of you here, I think that when we look at you, we say, okay, you can't possibly enjoy this. But I think they want also, and maybe you want also, to experience new and different stories. I think we need
I think that's obvious. So you know what immediately disproves her entire perspective on this? This is what immediately disproves it. This is one of the most hyped games, and it has been now for years. Black Myth Wukong. This is like super, super, super Chinese lore. Everybody is excited about this game. Every white dude that loved playing Dark Souls is probably like, oh, fuck, I really hope this one's going to be good too. People have been hyped about this for a long time. The premise that, like, white people don't like stories that aren't about white people, this is invented by morons. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, back whenever I was in middle school, everybody was into Dragon Ball Z. Everybody was into it. It didn't matter. What do you want to be whenever you grow up? Do you want to look like Goku whenever you grow up? It doesn't matter if you're asking a white guy or a black guy. They want to look like Goku. That's all there is to it. It's that simple. So it's just like, or Vegeta, right? Or somebody else, right? Piccolo or whatever. It's just it's a strawman point. It is. It absolutely is. And you can look at many other games that are massively successful and hugely popular that are from these other markets. It has nothing to do with this. It never did. And this is, again, the reason why these people can't create anything good is because they don't understand how people think. They don't understand how people process information, like what they hold value in. They have no idea.
Step out of this rule that like white men can enjoy fantasy worlds, aliens, sci-fi, monsters, anything, so long as it's through a lens that looks exactly like them. Because if that's the...
Again, it's just... Oh, man. An assumption? That's crazy. It's projection? I think in some cases it is. It absolutely is. Is she dumb? I don't think that she's dumb. I think that she is an activist. Like, I don't think that she's stupid.
Kind of person that we're always going to cater to, you're never going
misguided.
to innovate. You're never going to change things. You're just going to keep feeding the picky baby. And we cannot continue to try to create art under a system that is going to bar innovation for fear of a picky baby throwing a tantrum. Hey,
well, it absolutely is. By the way, I guarantee you, if people stop buying games that are about, like, you know, for example, all of these video game companies don't really care about these people at all. The only reason why they care about these people is because they're worried that they might lose money if they don't care about them. But, like, if you actually want to get down to brass tacks, do they truly hold any value in diversity or anything like that? Absolutely not. The only thing that they truly care about is money. And I guarantee you, if these video games, like, you know, for example, how do you know this is true? How are you just, like, absolutely 100% certain this is true? For a company like Blizzard, for example. So Saudi Arabia runs the Overwatch League now. Or at least it's somewhere in the Middle East. And I wonder if Tracer is gay over there. I bet she's not. Yeah, I bet she's not. Yeah, that's probably not the case. And so that's the reality. These companies would be pushing for white power if it was beneficial and profitable. That's the truth. They don't care about these issues at all.
Maybe we can invite white dudes to play as other people and experience different things through someone else's eyes. And if they don't like it, we have to start thinking we're not losing, they're losing, and we're losing because we're going to let them stand in the way of our progress and our innovation. And I think...
See, this is the way, and I'm glad, it's good to see, you know, again, that's the way that they look at things, right? That's the way that they see things. Our progress, our innovation, we're standing in the way of that. These are the people like that. Yes. It's an us versus them speech. That's because that is their entire mantra. That is why they exist. That's their whole purpose.
That we need to stop thinking that our core marketing demographics have to define the exact demographics of our playable characters. And
this is also a huge problem that I think a lot of games have. And I'll actually really talk about how bad this problem is that she's trying to promote. So what she's talking about is video game demographics and trying to go after a game that hits a larger demographic. I think that that's not really necessarily a bad thing, but the way that game companies approach that is. So I'll give you a great example of this, is in World of Warcraft, in Wrath of the Lich King. Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm were designed for people that didn't really like playing MMOs all that much. They made the game, they removed a lot of the things that made an MMO an MMO. That's why Classic WoW is so massively successful even now. It's because it was a true MMO. So what's ended up happening, and you see that with the Suicide Squad game as well. The Suicide Squad, the fundamental reason why the Suicide Squad exists and why people are unhappy about it is because they tried to go after a demographic that wasn't a demographic that they held. they said, oh, it's not enough for us to just make really good story-based games that people enjoy. What we're going to do also is we're going to make a live service game and try to attract a more diverse group of people. And you end up doing that, and you end up trying to cast a bigger and bigger net. And at a certain point, all the fish just go through the net, and you don't catch anything at all. And that's exactly what's happened, is that they've tried to make these games appeal to everyone in the same way that she's saying. And this is not just something that happens with diversity of the different characters. It's happened with everything. Look at Diablo 4, for example. Like, all of these games are supposed to be such a mass appeal that they end up appealing to no one. So her pushing this is actually a much bigger problem than just like the racial thing. Like, who gives a fuck about that? Start making games for the people that are your audience.
Our cast. And instead, we start to have to assume that players do want new stories, and that if we bring joy to our broad audience, it's going to encompass our core audience as well. Like, representation is this abstract idea. We're seeing it as this weird kind of thing that we can paint. If we bring joy to our broad audience, it's going to encompass our core audience as well.
See, that's what hasn't happened, though. And that's been the thing that they don't understand, is that you can't just make more and more bland content and then expect to get a wider and wider audience of people. That's not how things work. And that's, again, and also, like, keep in mind, all of this is completely separate from what the artist's intent is. It's completely separate from what is a good story. The focus is now on making the story appeal to demographics, not telling a good story. Because a good story, people are going to watch that and love that more than anything. It doesn't matter who's the main character of the story.
Representation is this abstract idea. We're seeing it as this weird kind of thing that we can paint over what we're currently doing. But if we start having these conversations as facets of narrative, as facets of marketing, as gameplay, as art, I think that we're actually going to be able to move beyond it. Because when
this is the thing, is like, how do you make gameplay that's not for white people? Like, I'd really like for her to explain and expand on that concept of making certain types of gameplay that's not for white people. Because I bet if you had her explain what's gameplay that's not for white people, and then had a person in the KKK explain what's gameplay that's not for white people, I bet that they would be a lot closer than you and I would be to either one of them. That's my fucking perspective.
Sequester advocacy into this one series, what we risk is like preaching to the choir. And while you guys already know this because you're here, what's old to us can be innovative to somebody else.
So the goal, as you can see, is to reshape the industry to fit their new world image.
Yep.
They view white male players as the devil and want nothing more than to change the landscape,
you don't need
to excommunicate and remove them from the industry, as well as when it comes to representation. And it's very...
To be fair, she didn't say removing. She just said making the game appeal to more groups of people. But I think that she really couldn't say removing, right? Because then it would be too much.
Bizarre that of all the ways she uses to explain what she hates, she uses the term picky babies. This entire group is creepy with their wording.
Yeah, you don't really talk about a group of people as picky babies. Like, I mean, imagine what would happen if somebody said that, like, oh, well, all the Indians are picky babies, all of South Americans are picky babies, black people picky babies. Bro, it'd be crazy. People would be losing their minds. They'd be furious about this.
Weird goes baby goes sweet baby, picky baby. Even some of the other companies they started up, like there's Ghoul School as well, just very similar terminology being used here. But honestly, it's very fitting as well, because up until recently, for many of you, these people were exactly that. They were ghosts. You couldn't see them, you couldn't explain exactly what was wrong, but you could definitely feel as if there was a presence lingering around you. Something was wrong with the games you were playing. You couldn't necessarily put your finger on it, but you knew in your soul that there was something at work that you couldn't see that was contorting and transforming the very fabric of this medium that you love so much. But if these weirdos are ghosts, then fellas, we've all become Ghostbusters overnight. And it's up to...
I think really the truth is that these people exist at the companies as well. The reason why they hire these companies to change the games is because there are people that work at the companies that agree with those speeches and those talks, and they listen to them and they say, oh, I want to hire this person and bring them onto my team. So, like, please don't ever blame. It's not like, oh, the game was going to be good until these guys came in and ruined it. No. The company was already going to ruin it, and these people just helped them finish the job.
Us to find and locate these spectral weirdos wherever we can find them and rid this industry of this rot. But it seems that the rot has already taken hold, and I remember Chris Kindred, who is that narrative designer who openly promotes that they're attached to weird ghosts and all of that, is the very same individual who originally attempted to get the user who made the Steam Curator tool banned off of Steam to begin with. So
this group has over 200,000 members now, which was pretty fucking crazy. Like, it's doubled, like, from 100,000 to 200,000, that is nuts.
Editor of Sweet Baby and Weird Ghost attempted to strong-arm Steam into banning someone they didn't agree with because they exposed them for who they really are. Isn't that just
and it's also like, if the Steam group gets banned, then people are just going to make 50 other Steam groups. Like, the one thing that these people should hope doesn't happen is that it gets banned. Because if these people get banned, then they're just going to go apeshit.
Fascinating, but there's something that's been bothering me ever since this all began, which is this one tweet by another person who works at Sweet Baby. I've covered them before. Their username on Twitter is Lego Butts. Anyway, they said this and people seem to have glossed over it. Lego Butts said this in regard to the Steam tool and how it collects information. Which, listen, I'm not sure who uses curator lists. My guess is it's people who would never ever buy the games any of us work on, except they do, and don't list those particular games here. But there's just nothing preventing this, even though it's clearly not what curators are for.
Well, who's to decide what curators are for? That's Steam's decision. Also, Steam has a lot of curator groups for, like, de novo and stuff like that. Like, for people to avoid certain types of games. That doesn't even make sense.
Except they do and don't list those particular games here. Huh. So it's very likely that there are still many games out there right now being sold and played that have been involved with Sweet Baby, Ghosts, and whatnot, and are not publicly displaying their names or involvement. So,
of course. Duh.
The ghosts they are, they're still corrupting things without players even knowing to begin with. Now, what could those games be? Sadly, I don't know. Yet anyway, as of the making of this video. But it would be a shame if someone watching this was to run names like Eileen Haloka, Kim Belair, or Chris Kindred through the credits of recent releases to see if their names pop up anywhere. It's just a thought, of course, but who knows, maybe something could pop up. But it's become very clear that this make-believe agenda that people like Kindred, Lego, and others swear doesn't exist seems to be a very real thing.
It's obvious that it exists. Anybody that thinks that it doesn't is just being delusional. It's about whether it's a good agenda or not.
Absolutely does. And of course, another tweet I've seen circulating is this one showing other companies that are also directly tied to Sweet Baby and Weird
bro, this was on my subreddit. I deleted this post. Because I randomly looked at one of them and there was nothing in the entire thing. It was a localization company and they did not make any single statement whatsoever about adding inclusivity or diversification or anything that was ESG coded in any capacity. This list was bullshit, and I find it to be disappointing that so many people are just posting it around as if it was some sort of fucking, 10 commandments of all of the bad actors. If you actually read this, you would see that it's not. And I really, really have to say this, guys. The moment that you start going after false positives and you start getting mad at people that actually have nothing to do with this, you start looking like an idiot. It's not about whether you're being mean or not. It's about whether you look stupid or not. Well, you look stupid whenever you're getting mad at people that aren't doing the thing that you're accusing them of. Focus on the real ones. And I said before also, if somebody wants to check this list and repost it with examples and actual reasoning, then I will have no problem allowing it on the subreddit. But I'm not going to just let people make a hit list of a bunch of different websites because it has the name baby in it. That's fucking insane. It's completely fucking fair. Yes, it is fair. I will always, guys, I will try my best to always be fair.
As well. It's going to take time to sift through all of these, but there's some very eyebrow-raising names on that list. Black Girl Gamers, yeah, those are the same people who were contracted by Square Enix when they worked on Forspoken. Gamer X is a big one too, I'll have to look into that one in a future video, and then there's Anita Sarkeesian when her name keeps popping up too. And look at that, Infinite Ammo, Weird Ghost, and GameSpace, all of these are controlled by Eileen Holoka and Faber as well. There's another name on that list as well, Cozy Comet Games. Where have we seen that before? Oh yeah, they were on the infographic when Weird Ghost was celebrating all the startup companies they helped fund, and there it is, right there. Cozy Comet Games, as plain as day, so that's another company created by the Sweet Baby. So how deep does this rabbit hole go?
Probably
this
pretty
is
deep.
Very interesting, my friends. Very interesting indeed. At least it's good that I can say that we're not crazy at all, and actually we were right all along instead. I've had plenty of Reddit threads saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, that I'm this hate-mongering person, but it's very nice indeed to know that I've been right all along. And they can gaslight me.
Well, yeah, it's obvious that people have an agenda like this. Yeah, no shit, man. Like, is it really that big of a surprise? Like, everybody has an agenda with a lot of stuff. It's not like it's really a bad thing to have an agenda, but whenever you push an unpopular agenda in a way that's patronizing to an audience, people are going to reflexively dislike it.
Yellow Flash and many others all they want, but the truth is that we were right. We aren't crazy, and we aren't lying. And in actuality, it's these groups instead that are the ones who are lying, and they can try to smear our names, but the devil is bathing in the sunlight, my friends. And it's safe to say that they can't hide anymore, because while the devil does try to convince the world it doesn't exist, it looks like the public isn't believing their lies anymore. Finally, I just want to quickly go over the Warner Bros.
Well, I think the reason why the public doesn't believe this anymore is because people have more access to freedom of press than we've ever had before. Like right now, I actually think that people always like talking about how bad the internet is and how bad social media is. But the truth is that social media now has created an even playing field where the New York Times has as much editorial power on Twitter as a random user does. Like, for the most part, right? I mean, aside from like maybe some weird fucking like relationship they have with an employee or something like that. For the most part, the New York Times can put out a tweet, and a random, Pussy Slayer 69 can put out a tweet, and both of those tweets go out to an audience, and the audience chooses to engage with that tweet or not. And the truth is that that is one of the most powerful things of the internet, is that it's created an even playing field where people, it doesn't matter like how much money you have. It doesn't matter how important you are, what your name is. If you have a good message and people want to hear your message, then anybody is able to speak out and have them listen. And I think that's incredible. It's one of the best things about YouTube, about streaming, about any social media platform. It is one of the best things. And you know what the funniest thing about it is? It is the least fucking... It is a thing that if you're speaking and you're saying and thinking something, it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, Asian, or whatever the fuck, people are either going to listen or they're not. It has been more of an equalizer than anything else.
But apparently after Suicide Squad blew up and died, Warner has decided it's going to double down on live service elements instead of rejecting them, and believes their future is not one-and-done games like Hogwarts Legacy, which, mind you, sold over 22 million copies and was the best-selling game of 2023. But never mind that. Warner...
The problem isn't live service. It never was. The problem is bad games. Make good games that are live service and everybody's going to play them. Make bad games that are live service and nobody's going to play them. And that's just the way it goes. I don't know why these people don't understand this.
Thinks that is not the way to go, even though its success proves that that's what people want. Instead, we need more...
No, it's not. Look at Helldivers. Like, look at Helldivers is massively successful. Like, there are so many of these games that are live service that are these huge knockout successes. But the problem, again, is that people just, they don't see it. Like, I'm just so disappointed about this.
Suicide Squad,
they just
because
don't
that's
see
the
it.
Future, apparently, especially considering how bad it did and nobody wanted it. These people are
Which
idiots.
has nothing to do with
But
whether
what
it's
it means
woke or
to
not.
me more than anything is that Warner Bros. Would rather double down on a failed product spearheaded by Sweet Baby than create a profitable product like Hogwarts Legacy, which to our knowledge...
Well, also, you have to keep in mind that they're only going to double down on it for a period of time and then eventually the people that own the company, like Warner Brothers is a publicly traded company as far as I know. I'm going to be real. They're eventually going to kick these guys out, because if these games don't sell copies, they're going to be out. And they can lose money for a while, but there will be a point where they literally fire all of these people and completely get rid of this mindset. And we're getting pretty close to it. And the way that you get there, by the way, is by not buying the products. Stop buying them. Stop purchasing microtransactions in them. If you feel like a game, you don't want more games like this game to be made, the main way that you can show that, actually that's not true. The only way that you can show that means anything is by not buying the game. Just simply don't buy it. And if enough people do that, and you buy other games instead that you feel like cater to you and that are fun for you, more games will be made that are fun for you and cater to you than not, if enough people do that. Money talks. And it's louder than anybody else. But we can't win because selling games is not their objective. They'll just move on to the next company. Well, that means that they're not at the gaming company, so then they're gone. So problem solved. Like, the reality is that these people, if they're doing this and it's not making the company money and it's losing the company money, the company will get rid of them. Because the company doesn't care about them. They don't care about the agenda. They don't care about any ideals. This company is a parasite that makes money off of users by selling microtransactions and battle passes. It has no values, no morals, no purpose, no principles, no North Star, no philosophy. There is no guiding, like, organization of thought that will make this company do anything other than make more money. That's it. No, a bit harsh, but what is a corporation then? What is a business? A business exists to make money.
Anyway, was not touched by the baby.
The nut jobs on a timer?
It was,
they are.
And Lego Butts outed that to a degree. We don't know yet. I can't wait till the internet discovers more, but it's proving that time and again, as much as they tell us we're crazy and wrong, we keep being proven right. The baby is exposed, the ghosts are no longer invisible, and they're afraid, fellas. And I know I say this a lot, but it's true, and that is that we are absolutely winning. So thank you for watching, subscribe for more in the future, and share the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you for being here, keep asking questions, thanks to my patrons, and have a wonderful day. Enjoy some video games today, that's my one and only demand of you. Go play something and have fun, you earned it. I'll see you in the next one.
There it is. I think that was actually a pretty fair video. There were a couple of things. I wish you didn't use that list that was used on my Reddit, because I thought the list was inaccurate. And I do think that, like, again, whenever you find something that you agree with, you need to be twice as careful about accepting the information in it, because it's more easily, deceptive to you. But yeah, what culture is dying? I think that in general, like, I don't know about like dying, right? It depends on like if you think it's dying, but like this type of like values that these people have, I do think that it's dying out. And I think that more and more people are starting to realize that the people that push for, this kind of stuff, they're not good people. These are not normal, like, rational, like, good people that you want to listen to. You want to have them, like, tell you what to do or how to do things. Yeah, these are extremists and these are activists, and they don't care about the content or the quality of a game as long as that game has their message inside of it. And that is fundamentally why they're parasites. And that's all they are. And it's good to see that more people are starting to realize this. And I'll tell you the real reason why things are starting to change. I'm going to show you the real reason why things are starting to change. The real reason is because these games are dying. And these companies can't afford to lose $100 million for 400 players. That's the fucking facts. These people only exist because it's not inconvenient or unprofitable for them not to exist. So the moment that gamers and players tell developers by not playing or by playing their games that this is no longer profitable for you is the moment that these developers will immediately throw these people in the fucking garbage. Because they never really cared about the message at all. They never actually had any values. And the people that are making the games, right, making the calls for the games, those people's jobs are on the line if they don't deliver a good game. And so, yeah, they're going to get rid of them. These people are everywhere, but scariest to me is they're becoming teachers of children. They actively work towards influencing kids, their point of view. I was lucky enough growing up, I never had that problem. I'm sure some teachers do that, which is disappointing. But for me, I never had that issue. And in fact, I actually talked to a couple of elementary school teachers about this specifically, right? About like putting messaging in schools and stuff like that. And they said that's not really the case. So I think that actually, hopefully at least, is something that's just overrepresented in media. But who knows? Teachers should be respected. What the fuck is chat saying? Well, I think that the reason why people don't respect teachers is because, like, you know, they'll see an article of a, some teacher that's like, had like a drag queen come in and teach 7-year-olds about sex or something like that. And then they'll assume that's what's happening in every school, right? That's really the reason why people are mad about that. Teachers definitely should be respected. And also teachers don't make a lot of money. And if you don't make a lot of money, you're just not well respected in society. Like that, and it's unfortunate, but there's the truth. It exists in most schools. Texas is just built different. Well, I can't say it exists in most schools, right? And neither can you, because we've only probably ever been to like probably elementary school, middle school, and high school, probably 1 or 2. So like either 3 or 10 schools at the most, right? So how can we possibly know? But I don't think it's as common as people make it out to be. But I do actually, as I said, like if I ever, because like to me, one thing that I hold a lot of value in, especially with like media representation of stories like this, because I remember I learned this in school, or not in school, in WoW, is that like I was learning in school that like, oh, Canada has like free healthcare. And then people were saying that, oh yeah, but you can't actually get any healthcare because it takes too long in the line. So I said, okay. I went home and I asked somebody, oh, let me link you guys the video. This is a good video. Give it a like if you guys liked it. This was great. And I asked somebody who was from Canada. And I said, bro, so like, what's going on? Like, you guys have like free healthcare? Like, and he's like, well, it's not. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, but is there like a long line? He's like, yeah, not really. No. I mean, like maybe for some things there is, there's not. And so I just go and I directly ask somebody, a real person. And so to me, that's my bottom line, is I go and I ask real people to get an actual temperature check, rather than like just taking it off of the internet, because the internet can provide such a distortion of reality. It's a reality check. Yeah, exactly. In certain provinces are really good. Yeah, I'm sure there's deviation. Sure. You're definitely right about that. The line, excuse what American politics likes to preach. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like live service should only be for MMORPGs. Fair? No, I don't think so at all. I think that games like Fortnite are great as a live service. I also think that games like Helldivers are great as a live service. And the fact that they have that Joel guy that's just like running the war, which is probably kind of an oversimplification for what they're really doing. I don't agree with that at all. I think that live service is great, and I think live service is good for a lot of games. It's just not good for every game, and it's not good for every type of game. So yeah, I don't think a live service should be something that makes you concerned for obvious reasons, but it's ultimately not something that's going to damage a game if it's a good game, fundamentally. I'm from Canada. I can't go to the doctor. I've been on a list to get assigned to a doctor for 2 years now. Yeah, but like, see, somebody, like, I don't trust you. I don't know who you are. Like, because you could be a completely unreasonable, crazy person, and if I understood your life situation, it would make perfect sense why you can't go to a doctor. Or you could just be lying. But like the guy that I asked, I know him. Like, we grew up together. Like, not really together, but like we played WoW, from where we were kids to adults, right? And so like, I know him. And I'm like, okay, this guy isn't a huge idiot, so I'm going to listen to what he says. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to base my entire opinion off of it, but I'm going to take it a lot more seriously than, like, because to me, you say it's anecdotal evidence. You're right, it's anecdotal evidence. But so is the story that this person is providing. And how am I supposed to judge the veracity of that? So that's the way that I see it.